Welcome to Nitpicking Nerds, and it's time for an Archetype Deep Dive.
We're going to be talking all about life gain decks.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. We got videos for you every single day, including today, which means we got to thank our patrons, because that's the whole reason we're even here.
We love you as much as we can without making you uncomfortable. If you would like that amount of love, go become a Patreon on patreon.com. Yep, do that. Other ways to support us include tcgplayer.com. Go there, buy the magic cards you're going to buy anyway, as long as you start with the affiliate link in the description below. Now all of your purchases support the Nitpicking Nerds.
And you can go to dragonshield.com. They got the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
You can buy sleeves straight from the source, all this different product, and you're supporting the nerds at the same time. You spend no extra money, and they are giving us their cash because of you.
Yes, so we thank you for using either of those. And this video, like all of our videos, brought to you by moxfield.com. Baby, we love that website.
Brought to you by the ad that will forever bamboozle every viewer of this video.
You will not see it coming. And last but certainly not least, happy birthday to every single human and viewer and pet and everything on the planet who was born this day, but some year prior. Happy birthday to you. Or I guess not even a year prior, because if you were born today, happy birthday to you, you newborn baby who's watching this.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching on your actual factual birthday.
First day here.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into this video. BZ, what is an Archetype Deep Dive?
We haven't done one of these in a while. We figured we should probably come back to it. So we're going to define an archetype, tell you how to play it, tell you what the commanders are, the staples, the ins and outs of the whole archetype, and then maybe we'll throw in a few traps at the end.
Yeah, we definitely want to get those traps in there, make sure you're not playing any of those really stinky cards. So, tell us, BZ. I already asked you a question. I'm going to ask you another question. What is a life gain deck? What's it doing?
Well, at its core, a life gain deck is a deck that takes advantage of cards that increase your life total, looks to pay life or reach a life benchmark to trigger powerful abilities.
Wow, did you read out the script?
No, I came up with it right now.
Dang,
Amber actually told me.
We're going to gain life, we're going to use life, and we're going to win the game somehow in between there. We're going to tell you all of that in this video.
Yeah, it sort of offshoots into two different strategies where you're either going to try to gain one life a million times or gain a million life one time.
Which leads us into our little question part where we ask 5 questions and we answer them to help you get a better idea of how to play life gain. The first one, how do you gain life? Well, BZ kind of just went over it. You either do really small increments that are really easy to repeat over and over and over again, or you do large bursts of life where you're gaining 50, 60 life a turn.
Yeah, in this first part, just a general overview of the archetype. We'll get into cards right after this.
Yeah, this is not specific cards. We're telling you how you want to do it and the best way to do it. What are the strengths of life gain, BZ?
Well, we got to survive longer in games because our life total just is always higher. We're going to have more reach if things go late. You know, if everybody's taking damage over the course of the game, you know, you fast forward 45 minutes and all of a sudden everybody's at 10, but you're at like 35 because that's your 10.
Yeah, your life is, well, your life in the game, and it draws new players to this because people see it and they go, oh, that's how I can stay alive longer. That's how I can survive. If I have more life, I will win games by lasting longer. And that's not inherently true, but it is what draws people to the archetype.
It's never true the way they think, but it does actually let you stay around longer.
Especially if you weaponize it.
How many ways to gain life should you actually play, though?
So it's actually a really good question. Life gain as a strategy is really important to make sure you're doing the life gain, because otherwise you're going to be sitting with cards that say, when you gain life, do X, and they won't do anything. So I think you want a minimum, and I mean an absolute minimum of 15. I'd be trending toward 20, maybe even 25 on the high end. 15 is the absolute minimum. You need to make sure your life is being gained, that your life is good and getting higher and you're gaining life, because that's the whole idea of the deck. Otherwise, you're going to struggle.
And you can have it permeate your removal, your card draw, and your ramp too. There's always some options out there, and you can mix or match one or two so that it just adds, you know, oh, hey, I'm playing 6 more ways to gain life because I switched out a few removal for like slightly less optimal cards. That make my deck better.
Yeah, absolutely. How many life gain payoffs, though, should I be playing?
Well, I'm thinking probably somewhere between 10 and 15, just to make sure you definitely have one every single game. I mean, 10 to 15, it's probably about 10 to 15% of your deck.
Yeah, it's approximately 10 to 15% of your deck. If I don't know how to do math. That's a
math nerds at home. Let us know. I think we got it right.
Is that right? I think it is right. You really want to be making sure that because again, these have to go together. It's really important that you both are gaining life and are paying off life. Neither is good by themselves. Obviously, the payoffs do nothing by themselves. And a bunch of life without any payoffs is not very useful. It'll keep you alive longer, but that's not going to be useful if you're not doing anything in the game. But the granddaddy of all questions is always, how do I win, BZ, with this life gain deck?
Yeah, we got to weaponize your life total because that's kind of the whole thing we're putting all this effort into. So that's what we're going to put into, and then we're going to take out of it. We're going to either pay large amounts of life and just annihilate everybody with, maybe some X spells, just resource disadvantage for them, or we're going to try to hit this benchmark and then gain enough life to win with some kind of alternate cost or some kind of benchmark we hit where we just end the game, or maybe a combo.
Yeah, alternate win cons are very common. Yeah, there's definitely is a very, very well-known life gain combo that we're going to go over a little bit later in this video. But yeah, there's also like 2 or 3 just alternate win cons that says hit X life total, you win eventually.
Yeah, now we got to talk about we know what to do, but what colors are we doing it in?
So there's actually a bunch of different color combinations for life gain. I'd say it's mainly an Abzan archetype. You got green, white, white, black, and like white, green. All those can just, work together, and those can gain life and be great. But you can also go into blue a little bit, and you can go into red in a little bit if you really want to. All right, so we got lots of color combinations here. First, mono white. There's not really too many options. You're probably going to go with Heliod, Sun Crowned, and you're probably going to put a Walking Blister in there and be a real lame-o.
Yeah, those 2 cards go infinite together, and it doesn't really matter that you're gaining life, but that's just a nice closer for when you're throwing enough resources out, you're going to get those cards together. Heliod's a really popular one. There's a lot of +1/+1 counters, sub-themes you can put in, but it's obviously a life gain deck. There's also Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. It's Sanguine Bond on a creature, and we'll get to Sanguine Bond, but it just says whenever you gain life, somebody loses life, so you are giving your creatures lifelink with Veto, gaining a bunch of life. Big increments are great. Small increments are great because he doesn't care. So this just is a grab bag of black life gain.
Yeah, he's like the only mono black one, just like Heliod is the only mono white one. We can go into green black, and we have Dina, who wants you to gain 1 life over and over and over and over and over again. Or we have Willow Dusk, Essenseer, who wants you to either pay large amounts of life, or in the case of the deck we're going to build, because we're talking about life gain, we're going to gain large amounts of life.
Yeah, but when we gain a bunch of life, we can also pay a bunch of life. So it really is, this is the exact, split, the fork in the road. It's do you want to play gain a life 1,000,000 times and drain them out, or gain 1,000,000 life 1 time and get it 1,000,000?
Yep. We also can go into, obviously, black-white. That's the most well-known life gain colors. The main commanders you get there, Liesa, Shroud of Dusk. This card's insane. This has lifelink. It's a 5/5 flyer. It's already gaining life itself. But whenever any player casts any spell, they lose 2 life. This is going to just slowly drain out the table while you stay healthy with Liesa's life gain and all the other life gain in your deck.
And Karlov of the Ghost Council gets really, really big. This is where you want more individual triggers. Maybe Liesa is more of the burst life gain, and this is the little tiny trigger one where, hey, I got a 20/20, and then I gain a life and you die.
Yeah, he's a 20/20. You can he can legitimately do combat or commander
damage.
He can legitimately do commander damage, and he's a removal spell. Also, there's some green-white commanders. Oh my god, you can go so many different color combinations for this. It's so strange. Trelisara, who's just an Ajani's Pridemate who scries. We also have Lathiel, the Bounteous. Wow, I can totally say it. That's another one of the really popular ones that people love. Tristani, she gains life equal to your creature's butts. You just play a creature, gain some butt life.
One of the decks I've seen go the highest is Tristani for sure, because there's a lot of makeshift ways to just double your life total.
And there's just a lot of makeshift ways to just make a ridiculous I'll make it a 20/20 person. Boom, 20 life.
And it's make a creature equal to your life total. Make a token, populate, and you're just doubling your life total every time.
Oh yeah, that's 100% true.
You can even move into Izzet colors here. The black, white, blue one is Aloro, Aegis Ascetic, one of the oldest life gain commanders that exists. Just gains you 2 life every turn forever until you lose the game or you win the game. And Leisha's the white, black, red one. She gets really, really big. You're going to be paying life, generating counters, smacking people.
Yeah, both of those they're kind of their own unique decks, but yeah, they're very cool because they give you a color you don't usually get in life gain.
And if we're talking about life gain, the best way I know to gain life real time is to use Moxfield.com to just save time and shave hours off of this arduous deck building process. And then when I'm 65, I'll be like, wow, I just have 10 more years to live because I use Moxfield every time and save so much time.
Yeah, and so many awesome creators are using Moxfield to upload all of their decks. One of those awesome creators is the Nitpicking Nerds. So go see every single one of our active Commander decks, all the ones we're playing on Shuffle Scuffle, all the ones we're playing, I don't know, in person, literally, our personal decks that if you're thinking, what are the Nitpicking Nerds play on a regular basis? You can go and see our exact 100-card deck list for every active deck we have.
Yeah, people ask us all the time, and if they're like, well, what would you do like for a Golgari mana base? And I'm like, well, here's my deck. You can just go look.
Here is my Golgari mana base. Take a look. Go in there. You can see what would you do for mono red mana base. Check out my Lelia deck. My Lelia deck has exactly what I think a mono red mana base should look like.
So possibly one of the best features on Moxfield. Us,
yeah, we're one of the best parts of Moxfield.
I would agree. We got to go to the best ways to gain life now. We're going to get into the actual cards after talking about the commanders. So some of the best ways to gain life, number one, you got to just mention Soul's Warden, Soul's Attendant, and like Essence Warden and all the little dorks that cost 1 and say whenever a creature enters, you gain a life.
There's also Auric Champion. There's more. There's Suture Priest. All of these things are great. Daxos works. The ones that just work for you sometimes are also very good. So there's just a ton of these Soul Sisters. This is a effect that's been printed for a long time. We're getting repeat effects of it. Just any version of it is going to be very good and gain you a lot of life.
Number one way to get those tiny triggers over and over. We also have Benevolent Offering, a nice example of burst life gain. It's like a playable card. I think it's a good card all around, except we can take full advantage of it and just gain like 30 life in one go. No one's going to see it coming. It's an instant speed by itself effect, and you're going to get tons of mileage out of it.
Yeah, and something I really like about this card is it gains you pseudo life in a way because the 1/1 spirits, they're not going to be attacking too much, but they will chump. They're going to chump 3s, 4 damage, and just keep your life total high for the benchmark life totals.
Or chump the ever scary commander damage, which is the only way you can actually die while still having a life total.
Next, the card sort of similar to a Soul Warden, but it's only for your opponent's creatures. It's Authority of the Councils, but also gets the bonus of making your creatures of your opponent's that entered their battlefield. That's the best way you could have said that. I see you were thinking, could Joe have said that better?
He still isn't done saying
and
it,
the answer is no, I could never have said it better. The answer tapped.
There it is.
And yeah, this card just gains you way more life than you ever think it's going to.
And you even gain bonus life from stopping haste creatures. This thing like overperforms every time I'm not playing a high-powered game. It's really weird. Whip of Erebos is next. This is your big burst. Everything has life gain all the time, life link all the time. You're smacking in. You're even getting maybe 1 or 2 creatures from the graveyard if you have spare mana lying around. But it's just static life gain until this goes away.
Yeah, I want to say that this is kind of a placeholder for lifelink creatures. If any lifelink creature that is playable in Commander that'll get you something a little more than just a lifelink, you're in. Yeah, it's absolutely going to be exactly what you want in your deck. But Whip of Erebos represents that really well because it gives just all of your creatures lifelink. And then we have Exquisite Blood. Whenever an opponent takes some damage, you're gaining that much life, which kind of leads us into one of the best ways to win the game with this deck, with any life gain deck. It's, well, Exquisite Blood / one of the best life gain payoffs, Sanguine Bonds. Whenever you gain life, you drain someone out for that much.
And then whenever they lose life, you gain life. And then great, you just gain life again. So this is one of the best life gain payoffs, as are the next few. But this one goes infinite with Exquisite Blood. Exquisite Blood is the more in-demand card because it combos with like Dina and Vito and some other people.
Yeah, it's also the life gain half of the card, right? Like, because if you're building a life gain deck, what side do you want first? Well, I want the side that gains me life first.
I can more reliably gain life than they can just lose life.
Exactly. So that's definitely the side I want. Some other great life gain payoffs. Well, the win cons again. Felidar Sovereign, Test of Endurance. At 40 life, at 50 life, got to be at one of those life totals. And guess what? You untap, it's your upkeep. Boom, you win.
Yeah, I think you can do some really messed up stuff with these. I know that it's sometimes hard to just keep a permanent out when you're the mega threat versus everybody else, and it's like a life or death scenario. But what if you just phase one of these out? What are they supposed to do?
They're not going to be able to do much about that. If you just play Felidar Sovereign and then go, okay, Teferi's Protection, you're probably going to win that game. Your life total cannot change.
It's going to trigger, right? I mean, what are they supposed to do?
Even if they mill you out,
yeah,
which is like one of the few things they can do to you, it still doesn't do anything.
Because like phasing, right, it comes back at the start of your next turn.
Yep.
So you're in untap.
You get the upkeep trigger.
Upkeep trigger. That's the first thing that happens.
They'll have to make you draw on your upkeep after milling you out.
Or reduce your life total somehow.
Yeah, so that's just not going to happen. this might be the best life game payoff. It's really like
The next one?
yeah, it's so good. It's Archangel of Thune, and it's a 3/4 with lifelink itself, which is what makes this card so good. And then whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on your whole team. Your whole team becomes threats just from you doing your game plan.
This wants all the tiny triggers because then even your Soul Wardens, they're getting in there as 6/6s. This thing has combos too with like Spike Feeder. It just goes infinite. But without that, you're still totally fine. It's going to say like your creatures get 3 counters a turn cycle at least. We also got a Johnny, Strength of the Pride. It's another benchmark, but if you're at 55 life, which is 15 more than your starting life total, it's just a Plague Wind that doesn't target you. It's one-sided, exile their artifacts and creatures, bye-bye, and it's kind of a weird sorcery. I wouldn't recommend playing it otherwise unless you really need to plus it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, on top of being that, it also bolsters your life totals and gives you creatures to block with. It gives you life game payoffs. It's you don't want necessarily to get the other modes, but they are helpful and do synergize with your game plan. It's all about life game, this card.
It's a sorcery that says when this sorcery isn't castable, and get a mediocre effect.
Yeah, when you're totally going to take that mediocre effect because usually that means you're kind of like a little behind.
And the sorcery is real good. We also got Aether Flux Reservoir. You knew this was coming. Pay 50 life, deal 50 damage. Well, I have 150 life. Gain life.
It also says whenever you cast a spell, you're gaining life equal to the number of spells cast this turn. So
everything works.
Yeah, even if you just cast one spell, you gain 1 life. That's going to be those little tiny triggers that we were talking about earlier. And then, of course, we have the mega staples. The staples of life gain. Every life gain deck wants these. They're absolutely amazing. And not only are they amazing in life gain, sometimes they often leak into other archetypes because they're just that good.
They're like the best staples in the format that life gain is extra happy to have.
Oh, yeah. Like Bolas's Citadel. You just get to play cards at the top of your library for life. What if we had 150 life?
We have life. We also have things like Aether Flux Reservoir, which can go infinite.
Yep, with the top Reservoir. That's another it's just a combo you throw in your life gain deck because you want Citadel. You want Aether Flux Reservoir. Any deck can play top, so why would you not play the combo?
A pretty low opportunity cost to play top. We also get Necropotence. Have you heard of that magic card? It doesn't need any work to be good, but now I can just throw 10 life at it over and over and not even flinch, not even have to worry about dying.
Yeah, not even have to worry or think about dying at all. Like,
I'll just draw 10. Thanks.
And what's your life total now? 55 still.
55. I just drew 10 cards.
Yeah, I just drew 10
for
cards.
3 mana.
Yeah, so Necropotence, obviously just a great payoff. Along in the vein of Necropotence, you also get Ad Nauseam. Usually Ad Nauseam kind of falls off your deck, doesn't have a low CMC. Doesn't matter if you have an extremely high life total. I don't care if I'm flipping 7 drops once in a while because I can afford to pay that much life.
You also get Sarah Ascendant, one of the most frustrating turn 1 plays in the format, except it's going to be almost doubly as bad for them because now it's not just, oh man, he's beating us for damage, we have to kill it, and then we're going to have to deal some extra damage to him. It's like, he's like getting a card's worth of life every time he hits somebody, and it's not going to stop.
Yeah, and that life gain can be used for all of your triggers. And again, it's good. This is if you play this on turn 1 early in the game, it's just going to help you hit those benchmark life totals that you're aiming for all game.
Oh, that's where they go like Sarah Ascendant and Necropotence, and you're like, can we just go to another game?
Can we just not play?
Start over.
This doesn't sound fun. We also have Heliod's Intervention. Usually, Heliod's Intervention is one of the best removal spells. So it's a great card with an emergency mode on it. But in this deck, it's a great... They're like even. It's like, which one do you want? Do you want 30 life? Yeah, that seems good. Or do you want to destroy 15 artifacts? I could take either depending on the board state.
Right, and even real numbers like destroy 3 or gain 6.
Obviously, I was being hyperbolic, BZ.
Yeah, and one of our favorites, Blind Obedience. Ooh, it's going to shut down their creatures with haste, shut down their blockers, lead to more damage kind of being dished out because there's less blockers, and also just Extort is so good. Drains them for 1. You gain 3. It's just perfect. This card is the perfect lines of text because it doesn't get killed quite enough, and it's annoying every time. And the threat assessment on it just kind of like, well, I can't waste my best thing on Blind Obedience. Like, but you're just going to lose 30 turns from now.
Yeah, Blind Obedience is, and like you might be thinking, those other cards were super staples. Blind Obedience is a super staple.
Especially when you're not comboing. If there's less combos, it just gets way better.
Yeah, it's a really good card. I mean, the fact that it makes artifacts and taps makes it kind of good in formats, even some higher power formats.
I like closing out these deep dives with traps, just some cards you'd be like, whoa, they say life gain, but I would not play these cards. I think it's a mistake.
Yeah, so the first one is a Johnny's Pride Mate. This card is just too vanilla. It's a 2-drop. It builds up, and that's just not that good. I barely want to play the good versions of this card, let alone the worst version, which is a Johnny's Pridemate.
Yeah, the legendary versions are a little different because commander damage is a thing. You always have access to them, etc. Karlov also grows double to Trelosaurus Scries, among other things. This is like, you got to put work in to get like a 2-mana 6/6 with Suspend, or like, even if it's like a 2-mana 10/10 with Suspend 2. That doesn't even seem that good.
It's just too slow.
It's this card, it's terrible late game. It's terrible if you don't need a random beater, if they have chump blockers. It's too much work.
Yeah, but if you want to play Johnny's Pridemate, play a Johnny, because he makes a Johnny's Pridemate.
Right, and then in an emergency, you can make a crappy Johnny's Pridemate.
Yeah, so sometimes it doesn't feel too bad. Also, Drog Skull Reaver. This card's okay. It says whenever you gain life, you draw a card, but it's a 7-mana 3/5 double striker. What a weird card this is.
I'm not sure what's going on. You're not going to play this in a lot because you won't even have the ability to play this blue card. I think it's just too expensive. The ability is really great, the great line of text, but give me it on some other card that costs cheaper.
Yeah, also Propaganda Ghostly Prison. I understand. Your thought is, I want to stay at these benchmarks. I want to stay at these
pseudo life gain.
Pseudo life gain. But these aren't very good, I don't think. I think that what makes it fine to be attacked is the fact that you have so much life that getting attacked isn't a big deal at all.
Yeah, and also, they don't actually gain life, so you won't actually trigger anything. You're just getting, like, metaphorical life sometimes when they feel like it and don't feel like paying 2 mana. We also got Crested Sun Mare. This just feels a little too slow. You can make multiple horses in a turn cycle, and on paper, I feel like it reads better than it plays. I never really see this, and I'm scared of it.
It is really good when paired with exactly a Soul Sister. Other than that, this card is a little tough to trigger multiple times a turn, and they're beaters on the ground. I really like something like a Splendid Angel, Archangel, whatever it's called. Resplendent Angel. Resplendent Angel, I really like that over this, even though Resplendent Angel is not a card that I think is reasonably priced, but I would rather play it before I play this horse.
I mean, shave off 2 mana, and now you're getting flyers.
Yeah.
I don't need the indestructible text.
Yeah, we don't need horses. I mean, if you really like horses, Crested Sun Mare is your card, right?
This is your card, yeah. And this last one is probably the worst one, and I don't get how he's playing any deck that's ever been made. It's drawn as Emissary. It's a Windrake that on your upkeep drains everybody for 1. So they lose 1. And you gain 1. It is slow. It does nothing immediately. This is just like a big fart.
Yeah, this card is absolutely just way too slow for Commander at all. We do not want a single upkeep trigger to drain for 1 life. That is far too low.
There's a lot of cards that do that, and I would stay away from all of them.
I agree with you 100%. We have done a couple of these videos now. This is our 3rd one, but this is an older series, so why don't you go back and check out our Aristocrats video or our Planeswalker video. But Aristocrats is right here, so you might as well click that, right? Am I right?
It's time traveling a year in the past.
I know, crazy. Peace out, Trap Scouts.